Welcome to the second episode of GNM by Politica Records. I'm Juan Gambino. My guest is my buddy, Tim, the Dirty Bird Means UFC fighter, MMA, kick your ass kind of guy. And I'm excited you guys could come, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
thanks.
you, man.
Thanks.
Thank you for taking your time on a Sunday to come out.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing good. You know what I mean? It's been a kind of a crazy week, but everything moves on, time moves on, and time heals things.
There was let's just address it, right? There was an accident out there in Torrance County where two young lives were lost in a car accident. And I know you were close to them. From what you're saying, you were close. They were on your football team?
Yeah, I helped volunteer coaching football this year, so I got to know them real well. I knew Ernie and Lexi's sons, Pedro and Mateo, before the accident happened or before I was even coaching football. So I got to learn a lot from those guys, and their parents. Every time I hug them, tell them how they looked up to me, but I looked up to them, and just as much their work ethic and their character. Just can't sum it up any more than that on who those kids were, and it's a heck of a loss for the community.
Oh, I know my prayers and thoughts go out to the Sandoval family. God bless you guys. And services are this week, right?
Oh yeah, they're Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah, we'll be there
At the gym, so
we'll be there. It's sad, man. Trying to get past that. Can you tell people a little bit about yourself, like where you grew up, where you went to school?
Yeah, well, my name's Tim Means, and I've been fighting with the UFC now since 2011 or 2012. Before all that, I got released from prison in 2009 for a bar fight and a bunch of other stupid things. I had a bunch of misdemeanors stacked on me, judge sent me to prison, and I was messing up at that time pretty bad. I did have a good reputation or good name or anything like that. So Judge Jones sent me to prison out of magistrate court out of Moriarty, and I got to learn a lesson on, I guess, who I wanted to be and where I wanted to be. So I go around high schools now and talk to kids about where I was at and the circumstances that come with making decisions and letting anger control your life.
Yeah.
And anger, I still work on that today as a grown man. So been in adversities and buried friends and family members, and just still try to walk positive, and got custody of my girls, and my wife is constantly on me, which is normal, making me do dishes or something.
She'll whoop your ass too.
It happens.
Yeah.
It does. It happens.
And
So.
she's a fighter herself, and she's a beast. So
Yeah. So
I pray for you from time to time that you're on the good line.
I appreciate that. I need it.
Because it's rough. So you went to school in Moriarty?
Yeah, I went to school in Moriarty, and got in trouble there, and then had to go to Cibola. Mainly wrestled through school, and when I was wrestling, when I was at that age, things were centered, and I was able to focus and keep my mind on track. Once that stuff would end, or once wrestling would end, I never had any type of interest in being in a classroom. I knew how to read and write and those things, and I wanted to be a boxer. Watching Johnny Tapia growing up, he was my favorite guy. What I mean? My dad let me stay up late nights when his fights were on, and I just admired that guy. And he had all this adversity growing up, but he would take his shirt off and give it to anybody without asking a question. Got to know him growing up, and I specifically remember where I was at when he passed away, and we'd go over there randomly or pretty often at that time to spar and box and stuff. So we got to know Johnny pretty well. So what I try to share with the community is just adversity and how things do move on. And speaking of tough individuals, I have to shout out to Pedro's mom and dad and Mateo's mom and dad, Lexi and Ernie, and just their ability to stay so strong in this just graphic and horrible ordeal. You know what I mean? Like you were saying earlier, you reach out to give them some advice. Yeah, and they
consoled me.
They touch your heart right back immediately, and you're like, oh man, the perspective they have it's outstanding. And small towns, you're frustrated with your community, or you get mad at them about things, and there's so much gossip and things of that nature in small little towns or whatever. Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And just to see the way the community had come together, my wife Brenda had started a GoFundMe account, and of course had the consent from the parents and stuff, and it took off. It absolutely took off. I think she set a goal for 15,000, and it's up to like 40 something.
I was reading the newspaper earlier, and I told her about it also, and I like, wow.
Yeah. So to see the community come together like that, and as touching as that is, then I think of the other aspect, like why does it have to take a tragedy for us to care, you know? And it just makes you think, and it makes you want to look at your community and be a better light. And that's something that I take pride in, is I want to be a better not because I punch people in the face or whatever, I'm on TV. I just ultimately care about my community. And talking to Mateo's class, who were the freshmen and the sophomores, that's when I had dropped out of school. And the sophomore class that we have on our football team and stuff, I have a lot of emotions that run high in that class, because that's when my problem started. Yeah. I let my anger, and I guess you have testosterone, thing that's starting to form in puberty, which I didn't think I hit puberty till I was like 25, but these things are happening, you know, and I can relate to that class really well. And I don't know, man, I want to be a better guy in my community.
When you said you were centered because when you were wrestling, is it because that structure kept you focused in the classroom, and then when you didn't have to do that, you was just like you said, you didn't care anymore? That's the way it was for me for basketball too. Like for like the second and third 9 weeks, I was at my game. Then the first and the last were like,
You know, I tried to do the team sports, try to play football and try to play baseball, but there was something about wrestling that I had to find myself. I had to believe in myself and trust myself that I was going to make it through that 9 minutes of battle or whatever. And it was just something that transitioned with me over into the career that I do currently. Is you have a team behind you and you have a family that supports you. Without that structure, you're not even getting to the fight, you know. And you have little details such as your kids being watched, or, you know, food being on the table, or the house being clean, or any of those small little details that lead up to that fight. But once you're in there and the door closes, you're looking across at a guy that wants to kill you.
Yeah.
So you have to prep your brain, and and it's taken me a while to understand these things. Heck, I have 42 fights now. I've been fighting. I turned professional in 2003. I started when I was 17. Dropped out of school, did all that. My parents were pretty pissed about the whole dropping out thing.
Did you have brothers and sisters that when you were little that how did you like to fight? Like, what made you want to? Because I'll be honest with you, man, it sucks getting hit.
Yeah, that's not a fun part.
No, hell
no. Now I'm able to put food on the table and pay my bills and things like that, which makes that worth it.
It's a blessing.
You know, yeah, it makes it worth it, and I'm blessed that I don't have to go work a job that I don't like, you know, digging ditches or construction or any of those jobs that are absolutely blue collar jobs and hard jobs, and respect those individuals that do that stuff.
Me too.
But I'm thankful that I get to get up and punch a time clock, or don't have to punch a time clock. I get up and make my schedule, and I get to go over here and teach martial arts to kids and work with. I got to meet a lot of cool individuals over the years at a high level of mixed martial arts, and I'm happy with that, with that stuff. But you know, you think about your past or whatever, and some of those things frustrate me still, and I still have to work on my mindset all the time and everything. Heck,
you gotta kind of sometimes learn to let that go.
You have
That's
to.
my problem
Yeah,
too. I can't let go. Sometimes I can't. I think of the bad shit I did.
Yeah.
Bad stuff, and I still hold it.
Right.
And
you know,
I try to find a way to let it go, but there's just some things I can't let go.
Easier
man.
said than done.
Yeah, exactly.
That concept,
I'm working on it every day though.
Right.
Is what do you train? You train in Albuquerque, right?
In Albuquerque.
What gym?
Yeah, but we're at Fit NHB. We moved to a Candelaria, 1010 Candelaria.
Okay.
We've been on Lomas and Broadway for, heck, we've been over there 20 years.
By the train tracks.
Yeah, by the train tracks. You know, Danny Romero Sr. passed away.
Oh.
They were the owners of the building, and then there was a bunch of upgrades that were needing to happen, new roof and septic. The building had so much history in it that it wasn't worth it for us to keep renting, and for the cost that went into repairing it. So they've been great. They've been great to us all along, and Danny Romero Sr. was just an outstanding guy. So we found a new building, moved locations like 5 minutes up the street to a 23,000 square foot facility.
Wow.
So right now we got a cafe in there. We have all the mats, cages, all that stuff. Now we're getting the weight room going, and then some dorms for guys that want to travel in, or gals that want to travel in and train at our facility. So.
Oh, okay. So they come from out of town.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, but we got something to work on, and Tom and Marlene are doing a good job with that over there, and John Judy.
Okay. How long have you been with that gym?
Since I was 17.
Okay, so you stayed
I'm
loyal.
30. I'll be 36. Heck, next month. So 5 days. February 20th, so 5 days after the card that's coming to Rio Rancho, the fight card.
Damn. When did you start first giving back to the community? Because I know you guys do a lot of stuff. You did a lot of stuff with me for domestic violence.
Yeah.
You guys always, every time somebody calls you guys never say no.
Yeah, you know, if depends on what type of giving back in the community. If we're talking about bar fights and running from the cops, started when I was 18. If we're if we're talking about giving back in a positive manner and caring about what we're doing in the community, heck, I think it started in '09. Right when I started back, I won my first world title with King of the Cage, and they had me do a sheriff's guest speaker at a sheriff's graduation ceremony, and the judge that sent me to prison was sitting right there. The cops that all arrested me and chased me around were sitting right there. So I was sweating buckets, and it felt a lot better than them chasing me and chasing the dogs after me or putting me in handcuffs. So that was a cool light, and I just felt like people looked at me differently, and it took.
That's vindication.
Yeah, it took. It was getting into fist fights, and I don't want to say getting in fist fights makes you a good person, but it lets me vent and it lets me stay focused, and I'm able to compete and make a living doing it, and it makes me feel good where I'm at now, and then looking back to the terms that where I was currently at, sitting in jail wearing recycled underwear with pee stains on them that some other person had already worn, and eating crappy food, and we could still be in that lifestyle, throwing horseshoes in the pin yard or whatever, but
you wanted something better for yourself.
Yeah, you know, my daughter was born at the time. My nephew had answered the phone when I called home from jail Thanksgiving, and you know, my parents had stopped lying to him about where I was at and where I wasn't on vacation no more. And he asked me, "Hey, Uncle, are you in jail?" And at that time, I'd had a bunch of uncles and cousins that were already doing quite a bit of time, and I just really felt like I was poisoning my family. The youngsters, my youngsters were looking up to me, and I didn't want to be that guy looking back saying, "Hey, we're all here, sitting here because of my decisions." So
and so were we. Like everybody in the community. Like I joke with you a lot of stuff. I say like you're like an urban legend. Like I've been hearing about you whooping people's asses for a long time. Like Timmy knocked someone out. I'm like, oh yeah. Well, I know. Come on now.
Yeah.
And you were tough as shit. And for people to still try to test you.
Well,
what?
I have that amazing physique, you know. I look like a real fighter over here. You know, I could probably carry a math book and put some glasses on and really pull that look off real well. But yeah, just the lifestyle I grew up in, man. I was watching my parents fight. You could go to the bars with your parents back in the day, you know what I mean? So any Saturday night or Sunday night, it was doing shots and fist fighting or playing pinball or whatever. But usually the night ended with a fist fight. You know, mom was on somebody.
They always did that.
They did.
It usually always happened. And
you know.
I remember, was it Frontier and Pete's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for a couple of those things, and it was. They're not around no more, so I could say they used to let me in when I was a minor to play pool. But I've seen a lot of bad stuff happen, man. It was crazy. I couldn't.
Drive up liquor windows.
Yeah.
Right.
So, when did you start knowing that? Okay, I mean, you did this without no training. You were just whooping ass with no training.
Well, I could throw a punch and then shoot a double leg real good because of wrestling. You know what I mean? But yeah,
okay.
I was a scrappy kid, skinny kid. I was wiry. You know.
And when did you start training? Like to how the heck did you go from there to make the transition to go to King of the Cage?
Well, we go from high school. You go to the street up the road here, Montgomery, right? And the buddies would be racing cars up and down the road, and people pull up next to you talking trash or whatever, and we'd pull over in the Target parking lot or whatever, get out and start fighting. And at that time, the group of guys I was around with, some cousins and stuff, and I started to notice after a couple butt whoopings I took that I'd be fighting 2 and 3 guys and look up and they'd be off talking to the girls or, you know, off to the side laughing about it or whatever, or sitting in the car still. And
they didn't have your back?
No, they didn't have my back.
Oh, man, if you're getting your ass whooped, we're getting our ass whooped together.
So, yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, but hell no.
It wasn't happening, man. Like, if I was sitting in a jail cell, I was sitting by myself. My friend wasn't sitting there saying, hey, it was a hell of a time, you know what I mean? So, those things I started taking into perspective, and instead of dealing with it, it was making me angry because I thought, hey, we're brothers and family, and we're supposed to be there till the end. I jumped in that. I didn't even start that fight, right? So, having to take the reality off that stuff and seeing what was your friend and wasn't your friend, that made me angry and confused me at the time, you know. So I didn't deal with that stuff well, or I just kind of just cut ties with those friends and started getting away from them or whatever. But it angered me, and it gave me a problem that I didn't deal with, and I would just deal with punching people or getting in fights or getting shot or getting whatever at the scenario, you know what I mean? But
so you were like living on the edge. Basically, you were thinking shit whether what happened to you. And that's what you're saying is like you were kind of like balls out or nothing, right?
Yeah, it was all or nothing. It was 0 to 100, and there was times when it got to the point like I gotten shot at. I'm not allowed to say the facility here, but or the establishment here. But I wound up getting shot. We supposedly cut in line. It escalated. Guys hung out in the corner of a room or corner of the establishment. I called his cousin up to come up and defend him because we were supposedly going to jump him and all this, right? And I never had no animosity to the guy that shot me. He came up there to protect his cousin because he thought his cousin was getting jumped. You know what I mean? I had a problem with the guy that
Instigated
it. It didn't. He was the one that had a problem. We were going to fight one-on-one or whatever. I should have just kept my mouth shut, and I've learned how to do those things. But after that, it led up to that, and then painkillers, and then methamphetamines and cocaine, and started a lot of alcohol. I started wearing a bulletproof vest around in nightclubs and a gun shoved in my pants, and it escalated very quickly. So the fact that I got to go to prison on misdemeanor charges and not dead, my mom burying me, or me killing somebody or whatever the case was, letting my anger. And once the anger you can control, but once you start mixing that hard liquor in there, and man, that shit goes messes. It's just not all of us are chemically balanced right.
No, your wires are just crossed at that point. I've been there.
Yeah, so I had to start learning from those mistakes and those ultimately decisions I was making. It was either I was having bad luck, or you were making stupid ass decisions.
So instead of making excuses anymore, you took it into your own hands to change.
Yeah, sitting through a fence. My daughter was born, and just that specific moment when what I called my nephew on Thanksgiving, those were moments that I remember going back from the phone to go lay down, and that just really hit my heart. It choked me up, and it still is a growing focal point to me today on what was a turning point.
And your nephew now is, how old is he now, would you say?
Gino, heck, he's gonna graduate school now. It's real close. Yeah, he's 17. He lives in Ruidoso with his mom.
You were able to mend that relationship that you felt like you might have caused a little rift whenever you said he asked you?
Well, he was still young. He was still young at the time, but my parents were watching him and taking care of him, and then he went to go live with his mom, and we talked from time to time. He'll text me from time to time, but the nephews grow up quickly, and they got all these different things in mind, such as skinny jeans and all kinds of different focus points.
Damn that.
Yeah, so I wish I was closer to those guys or whatever, but sitting on the outside and looking in, seeing how they're growing and stuff, they're good kids.
They're doing well.
They're doing well. Yeah.
Good.
So we should be closer than we are. But yeah.
I think we all have that family thing where I want to be closer to a lot more in my own family.
Right.
But just dumb shit happens in families. You just really can't control it, man. Like you said, small town bullshit.
Right.
It happens all the time, man.
Right.
And even family out here, or don't even mean Torrance County, anybody see something or they see a post or something on Facebook or anything. Like last time when I was talking to Jeffrey on the last interview, I said, you'd be surprised how many people that don't know me have shown me more love than the people who know me, my own family, my blood cousins or family, would be like, what does he think he is, man? He thinks he's all bad, or what the hell? It's like, why can't you be happy for me, man?
Right.
Like, what the hell is everybody's problem? I'm happy I'm happy for everybody when they do good. I don't want to see no one doing bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I want to be better than anyone else or anything. I just want to be the best that I can.
Right.
This is, we don't have that time to talk or give each other that shit, because macho bullshit.
Right.
That machismo bullshit that we all have, man, is like, you just got to break down and talk something at one point.
Communication's big, you know what I mean? And then the other thing is time. You know, your life gets going so fast or whatever, you don't even realize how fast the year has gone by.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You're sitting in December and you're like, oh, hell, Christmas has passed. Or you're building up right Christmas, and heck, Brenda's side of the family, we have 4 different gatherings we do, you know what I mean? And then you get through Christmas, and then boom, all of a sudden the new year, and then all of a sudden, bam, we're already out of January going into February. So I think time helps influence a lot of that on missing things, you know?
Yeah. The first time that you got into the cage, like for King of the Cage, were you scared?
Oh, yeah.
Were you nervous?
Oh, yeah. I'm scared every fight, probably.
You still get nervous?
Oh, all the time. Fight night, all day long. You know what I mean? You learn how to like we were talking earlier with mental conditioning and stuff. Yeah. I work with that mental solutions with Vera Jo Bustos through UNM over here, and she works with the Lady Lobos. So I'd never thought about, prepping the brain. Like, we're hitting all those rounds, we're in there, we're lifting weights and we're running and we're doing all this conditioning to get to the fight, but we leave out the most important part of our body that makes everything work. You know what I mean? So the mental side of it. And last couple fights I've been working with her, and I started taking my girls to them because my girls started playing basketball, and I'm not a basketball player, and I wanted them to learn the right techniques and all that. So we found a good coach and a good person to take them to outside of all of us playing with them in the backyard, you know. And I started having my daughter see her and my wife's brother see her for mental conditioning and how to handle things in stressful situations and thought processes and breathing. And I said, well, heck, I'm going to give that a try and see what it's like. And there's a whole new perspective to it, mainly with your breathing. It was these techniques of slowing your breathing down, these big breaths with your belly, or big breaths, not breaths, but big breaths with your belly. It really has worked. Like this last fight, I came off a broken leg in March, and I was fighting probably the best leg kicker, the #1 contender in the world at one point.
I was worried for you.
So, and in my thought process, I wanted to put my injury to the test right away. I'm getting older, and I can either handle it or I can't. And if I can't, I need to go find a new job and a way to support us, support my family, and all that stuff. But my mind was right going into that fight. I was nervous. So you get on the tour bus or you get on the bus. My wife can vouch for this. You get on the bus and you start going to the venue. And hell, man, I forget how to fight. I start walking through the scenario in my head, and I'm like, oh, well, what? I'm like second guessing myself and following along those lines. But I was able to start prepping myself for the walkthrough. I've been to the fight so many times. As soon as you get there, there's that smell in the air. It's competition, and then you walk into the locker room. They come and get you. You got to take a pee test, and yes, you got to walk through the whole prep. You walk through the whole process. So then they start taping my hands. As soon as I tape my hands and get my gloves on, I'm feeling comfortable. You start hitting mitts, and then all this, the calm comes over you. Then they come and get you. They say, hey, you're up in 5. You're standing in the hallway. They take you to the lights, boom, big bright lights like this with a curtain in front of you, and then they say walk, and all you hear is your song come on, and then just calm. It's just calm. You walk in there, and you're standing looking around, and standing in the Staples Center, and you're like, oh damn, we're really here.
20,000 some people maybe?
Yeah, so people are screaming and yelling, and then it usually takes one good shot to get me or whatever, bam, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're in a fist fight, you know what I mean? Yeah, I wish we could stop that. I'd rather duck. Just saying, so, but it takes a good shot, like right away. Alves hit me with the right hand in the last fight, and I was like, oh damn, we're in a fist fight, you know what I mean? But I need to make that happen, make those miss, you know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Was it hard knowing that, like, you probably, because you love sports, and you love your sport, and he's probably one of the guys that you've been watching for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, it's a bad mother.
Yeah.
And then when it's your turn to fight him, does it make it any more satisfying that you're able to do it? First, that you're gonna get to fight this person, and then you win the damn fight.
Yeah.
Afterwards, like, how do you feel? Do you feel for him?
Yeah.
Do you feel for the person that you just whooped?
Well, being on both sides of that spectrum, you know what I mean, winning and losing.
Yeah.
You put all this time, and what most fans don't see is all this emotion and this effort and time lost with your family, and you're having to set out on parties, and you're not able to eat what you want. You're able to eat and drink, but you have to stick to a certain diet. The struggle with those things and the commitment that it takes, and then you lose, you know.
It's a setback, kind of like.
Yeah, if you let your mental mindset get the best of you, and you start falling into depression there's a variety of things we can fall into. Everyone handles emotions differently. Such how we digest food differently. We just handle emotions differently and digest it differently and process it differently. That emotions are a heck of a thing, man. And we're going through a week now that has been crazy emotional, and trying to get a fight set up and get a guy to say yes. And
who was the person that you were supposed to fight because somebody couldn't fight or they backed out or something?
It's a Russian dude, something another. Can't say his name. It's pretty hard. He's a tough dude.
You've seen him.
Yeah, he's a tough guy. Raman Meev or something like that. Super tough. Yeah, all the Russian boys are tough. You gotta expect them boys to throw down. Good record, was their champion they had over there coming in. I got a bout agreement like normal from the UFC, from the matchmakers and them. I signed, and then they came out, and I seen that the Albuquerque Journal had released had broke news on the fight, which usually doesn't happen like that. It's usually like MMA Junkie or ESPN or whatever.
Yeah. But they said it first?
Yeah, so they said it first. I thought, oh, heck, it's local show, whatever. And then the news, now I got a text from Bante congratulating me. And then I announced the fight on my social media.
Yeah.
And then we went to training, we went to doing the process and working it all out. And a couple weeks later, or whatever, I get a message in my Instagram stuff, my DMs, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't even know about this fight. Where'd you get this information from?"
The dude that you were supposed to fight?
Yeah, the dude I was supposed to fight.
Oh.
And then I had like Russian media outlets reaching out to me and talking in broken
How does
English.
that happen? How does that kind of confusion happen, especially with like UFC?
I don't know. I can honestly say, that's would have been my It's going to be my 21st fight with the UFC, or 21 fights, and that's the first time that's happened. So I'm not sure what happened. USADA is a son of a gun in our sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The United States Anti-Doping Association, and now they don't announce failed UAs on anything, and they don't disclose anything now. So until the process is done, so we speculate. That's all that is speculation. But I haven't had anybody say. I have never gotten a bout agreement with their name on it. I sign, get it back, and then when it's announced that, they come back and say, "Hey, I don't even know who you are." You know what I mean? So it's like, all right.
Shit. So, but they're having a problem trying to get somebody to match you right now?
Yeah, so the message that I've received is that they're not getting anyone to fight me in Rio Rancho. They're having a hard time. They're either matched or injured or whatever the case is, and that they're going to have to sign someone new. So,
and it's when? When are the fights again?
It's in 4 weeks, I think. It's February 15th.
February 15th.
So I've been training and doing what I'm supposed to, so they call, I can cut weight.
Wow. And you filled in before like that before, right? When
Oh,
if somebody
yeah.
can't make it, you stay consistently training.
Oh,
so
yeah,
in case they need you, they call you and you're there.
Yeah, outside of having an opponent say, "Hey, he didn't know about it," me getting a bout agreement, I've being matched with guys. I'm usually on the 4th or 5th or 6th individual, or someone's pulled out, or injuries happen, or I can't get a fight, and I fill in on 7 and 8 days notice, 10 days notice. We're just in the gym so much, we're in shape, and we're just ready to go. And in 42 fights, I can say I've probably had 2 or 3 full 8 weeks or longer training camp to prepare for somebody. It averages probably 30 days or less.
After a fight, how long do you usually take off, or do you just go back to the gym?
Oh, it depends on how bad the car wreck was. Last fight when I broke my leg, or a fight before that when I broke my leg, it took till October to get back in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
December just happened. I was pretty much back in the gym right away.
Wait a minute, you trained for 2 months?
Yeah,
last fight?
Yeah, I trained from October to, or a little bit before October, so like maybe 4 months, I guess, 3 or 4 months.
Damn.
And then I fought. But yeah, I was doing all the rehab and all that, so that was going on.
Yeah.
I might not have been sparring and wrestling and doing all that, but I was doing all the rehab work and jumping from tables this high on the one leg, and them ladies were aggressive and they were mean, and some of them were strong and they were little. Right?
You gotta do what
They're
you
moving
gotta
my
do.
foot around and getting all the flexibility and range of motion, and I was really impressed with the process that went into that. The dry needling, the suction cups, they had a protractor down there measuring flexibility and range of motion, and heck, man, they have stepped up. But
Do you have any concerns about injuring that one again? Do you
man.
tape it? Do they allow you to tape it when you're fighting?
No, they don't allow no tape, only on our hands, and it can only be so thick or whatever. But injuries happen in sports, and if we're gonna sit back and be like, "Oh my gosh, I might get hurt," I just need to go get a job at Walmart or something and stock shelves or something. Definitely retire if that's the case. But injuries happen, and I've had losses. I've been dominating fights that I've lost, and lost fights I should have won. And I never once got in my head and was like, "Oh, poor me." You know what I mean? It's like, hey, get back to the drawing board, study some tape, let's see what we did wrong, go back to it.
There's been some sorry ass decision calls that I've seen on some of your cards that go the whole way.
Yeah.
Sad, like bad. You don't ever get it, like the final decision. You're like, I just won this damn fight. Like it's clear in everybody's eye, but the decision goes to the other person.
Yeah, you can.
Does that frustrate you? Can you talk? Is there anybody who looks over that and says like, yeah, they messed up? Or once it's final, it's final?
Yeah, well, you can appeal some situations, but they very rarely get overturned. The things with commissions or whatever, you have a group of people that want to be in charge, but they're not necessarily educated on the sport that they're in. They, like the DC commission out there, man, they were bad. They didn't even... They weren't sure what the corners did in between rounds. The guys that work on your nuts and cuts or knots and cuts, and you're giving you water and spit buckets and whatever, right? Taping your hands. They didn't know what those people even did or why they needed to be there, and had none of them licensed the day before the event. So my point is with that is if you're going to be in those positions, let's at least know what's going on and be in charge. And everybody, so each state you fight in or each different commission is going to have a different set of rules, right? Unified rules, not unified. And you don't know if you could knee somebody that has a hand down, or you have to have two, or you have to be on an elbow or a knee, or all the rules, all the commissions are different. That is frustrating. So the other thing I would like to see change is whatever judge is judging your fight, they be in the rules meeting. You can ask them questions. Hey, what are you looking for to score points, or what are you looking for aggressive combat, or you're winning, or whatever, right? However you want to word it. I would like to see more of those people, so you know what they're looking at and what they're looking for in the fight, instead of it's like that damn Rubik's cube, right? You never know which way to turn the damn thing. You know what I mean?
Just used to just take the tape off and put them all on one side. I was bad.
We were watching Mario the other day, Pete Romero's little boy behind us, and he was doing it with his eyes closed in like a minute.
Yeah, my son got really into that and started watching YouTube stuff and
Yeah,
how to fix
that's
it,
how
and
he
how to
figured
do
it
it
out
quickly.
himself.
I'm like,
I watched the YouTube video. I still didn't get it.
I couldn't do it. I don't have the patience for it, man.
Right.
Is there anyone that you haven't fought that you want to fight? Anyone in particular, whether it be just because you're local or it's out there and it's just in the air, that you just want to just throw down with?
You know what, man? Watching last night's fight, I think I just went with a lot of emotion through the week and, trying to get matched for this fight. Seeing guys that I fought on TV last night, like Masvidal, I took that fight. I thought I won the fight. I lost. Those guys call out everybody but don't want rematches. You know what I mean? I absolutely thought I won that fight. I was supposed to fight Donald Cerrone. The stuff with the supplement crap happened, and that fight fell through 2 weeks before. Stand across Conor McGregor. So these are fights that I want, but they don't necessarily always pan out, and that's on me. When I get these fights that I have, I need to be winning these fights. As violent as possible, get a name set, and that's what's going to happen this next year or so. Is I'm trying to come and establish myself to start getting these own big pay-per-view fights that people are talking about, and I've fallen short, and that's on me. So we're sharpening up everything, my mindset, my brain, just controlling that temper, trying to work out the emotions that's coming with this week. Heck, I talked to my wife about our own family, issues with our own family, and that's the thing. When you have a family member that's in your life, you're supposed to love family, but then they want to stab you in the back when you're not standing there. Those have to be handled as well. So there's some things that we have to work on without calling us the B word and the mother effer, and I have to set my mom on the back shelf, right? Because my mom's a little more aggressive and redneckish. So we have to approach this stuff. We need to handle this stuff in 2020. And like I said, man, I'm wanting to get in some violent fights and some big name fights at the end of the year.
So you really enjoy that?
I like getting paid.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking, you really love fighting. You really.
I would like to say yes, but cutting weight sucks. But then the incentive of being able to eat my food, open my refrigerator, open my front door to leave in and out of my house, that is worth the risk. It absolutely is. And we're able to go and do things together, like the Dallas football game the other day, or last month or whatever. Being able to pay the fee to put my kids in basketball or whatever they want to do, or
that's
clothes on their back, or heck, even the family we had that we didn't have to buy any clothes. We're getting all these hand-me-down clothes that were still brand new, right? They're called hand-me-downs. They were new. Some of them had tags on them.
Yeah.
But being able to gain that respect and get that stuff through fighting his work, and I love fighting for that reason. But I love to fight because I get to put food on my table.
Damn. If there's anything that, because I know that you guys have children.
Yeah.
You guys, how long you been married now?
3 years.
3 years.
Maybe 4. Maybe longer.
What?
Oh, 5. Damn, I'm off.
How
We've
did
been
you
together
say
like
that?
11 years, yeah,
Oh,
so that's the number that counts, right?
Exactly.
We're doing 2 anniversaries here. I remember the first one real well, It's true.
Feels
How
like
do
20.
How did you guys, besides being from the same community, but how did you guys end up connecting to where you guys have so much in common? And for two people that have so much in common, how did you guys just decide to okay, let's get together and try to make this work?
Honestly?
Yeah.
I just got out of prison. We're gonna do this right now. Just got out of prison, went into a bar. She had some dark black hair. She was living gothic. She just needs some sunshine in her life. So
Wow.
We started talking. The thing was, her mom used to babysit me when I was little. Her mom used to change my diapers. So I hadn't seen Brenda in a long time, or really even been in the community for a long time. I went and did my prison sentence and was all over the place going through that time frame. And I knew what I wanted to do was be a fighter and all this, and she had a job, and I needed a sugar mama. So we got into that, and then the sugar mama thing stopped. She quit her job. She became a fighter, and the rest is history.
Wow. And you were speaking about your in-laws. I have a great deal of respect for your in-laws, Bobby, Ben, and your mother-in-law. I remember your father-in-law. Also, when we were coming up here, I said there was one time her dad had this automotive shop, and my car was failing. And I said, why does it keep dying? He was like, well, you need to tighten up your alternator. And I was on a donut. He says, I said, I don't have no money to do that. And he fixed the old one and put it on for me. He didn't charge me a damn thing, man. Yeah. I tried to come back later and pay him, and he wouldn't take it.
Yeah. Just there's a bunch of those stories when you could come back and pay on your word. And he was the guy that helped me a lot when I was a kid. I had a stepdad that worked for him in that same garage, and I was a lost soul, you know what I mean? He was always able to cheer me up, you know. He'd give me those little bugles that you could put on your fingers and a root beer, you know what I mean? And somehow he would talk, and it would change my day. But,
he told me you just had a daughter or a baby, right? I said yes, sir. So he didn't charge me, and he wouldn't let me pay him back.
Yeah.
And it's cool because my son later got to play basketball with his grandson.
Yeah.
So it's like somehow always the worlds connect, you know. They always come back full, and it's a great thing, man.
It is.
To have good memories like that. See, there is good people in small communities. It's not always bad, and sometimes the bad get on your nerves, but the good is just it fills your heart with good memories.
It does, you know. And I was watching a Dave Chappelle thing earlier, and he's talking about how social media just amplified everything, and we need to take a break from technology because one shooting's happening or this disaster's happening, and you're not even over that disaster, and 3 minutes later there's a new disaster. And I can just really relate to him, to what he means there and what he's describing there. So if anything, I think the trust issue and the barriers are so high now. Nobody's trusting one another. You can't trust your neighbor. I don't even like most of my neighbors.
But I'm sure they're not gonna come and try to tell you, hey man.
Yeah.
Listen here, buddy. They're not gonna do that to you.
But we as a people and we as a community should figure out how to interact again. It's a lost art.
My cousin works for CenturyLink, and he went and did some work, I guess, at your house, and he was like, hey man, is this the fighter guy? I said, well, are they home? Try to talk to me. He said, hey, she is. Should I ask for him? I was like, well, we watch him fight all the time. Just ask for him. It can't hurt. I said, they're cool people, man. Just ask. Yeah. And he said, no, I'm not gonna ask. And he said, I called him later. Did you ask? He said, no, I didn't ask. I was like, too embarrassed. I was like, shit, you should have asked, man. The dude was there. He would have came out and talked to you.
Yeah, I'm just a normal guy. You know, I live in the sticks.
So do I.
I shop at Smith's. Sometimes I don't want to talk to everybody. I just want to get milk and run out, but it's an art how to get out of that place. When you know got all your family and stuff, there's an art to sneaking through that place. There is. I've got it down. I was there today. So
when it's all said and done, man, what do you want to be remembered for, bro? Out of everything that you've done, because you're gonna go down as a legendary person, for sure. And you made a change and impact in a lot of people's lives, positives, and then everything that you've gone through, that you came out of. That's another blessing, and you always spread that so people have hope. And you guys have been to the schools where my daughter have been there, and you guys teach them self-defense and stuff like that. Besides all them beautiful things, man, how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as a guy that took care of his family and didn't want anything in return. Somebody that wanted to be positive in their community, and you know, all these kids that I've got to work with, I look up to them just as much as they say they look up to me. I just want to be humble and not get anything back.
Wow. Respect. I appreciate that. I want to thank you so much for coming, man. And thanks for putting up with me every time I text you before a fight or after a fight or something. I'm just like, man, this dude's bad.
Yeah.
And I always tell her, I said, yeah, man, I want this dude to win. I said, but Timmy will still whoop his ass. I said, still whoop his ass. So I'm like your number one fan that is on the outskirts. You know, I try not to flood your page with stuff like that, man. And overwhelm you guys with too much stuff. But yeah, it's cool. It's great to see somebody in the community that is doing great things, and you're accomplishing things that we can just never dream of doing. It's amazing, man, that you did it, and you started from the bottom and you actually fought your way up to the top. And I hope that you get a fight here so we could all go see you in person, man.
Yeah, so February 15th, they're saying I'm on the card. We've got a bunch of tickets already sold and gone. Well, I should say I have. The UFC doesn't give me tickets, but they've reached out through Ticketmaster, and my wife went and bought a bunch, and the family are paying her or whatever. But yeah, there's nothing like fighting at home. And then I haven't told anyone, but I'm gonna dedicate this fight to Pedro and Mateo, and just their work ethic shine through. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of emotions running high right now, and it's the right time for a fist fight.
Well, I hope you get it, man, and you do. I know you're gonna win, especially at home.
Yeah.
I hope you go knock some asses out. Brenda Gonzales-Means. How long have you been training and fighting?
I started training almost 11 years ago.
What made you want to get into getting hit, dude? I've seen you guys.
Growing up, I was always in sports, and basketball was my thing growing up and stuff.
Mine too.
So, I always wanted to be a professional athlete, but being 5'3", 5'4", I probably wouldn't have made it in the basketball. But, I loved watching the UFC fights, and I watched Cyborg and Carano. I remember those.
Gina Carano. Yeah, I remember that fight.
Yeah, the first women's
fight. She had the braids on her.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I had a crush on that girl.
Yeah. So
but you knew that.
I saw. That was the first, women's fight. I saw, and
Cyborg is scary, dude.
Yeah.
Built like a dude, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's huge in person too.
Is she?
Yeah, she's big.
And how big is Amanda Nunes?
She's pretty
tall.
Big too.
She's tall too?
Yeah.
Cause she just goes in there and just whoops everybody's ass, man.
Yeah, she's tough.
How long did you train before you got into your first fight?
I want to say maybe a year before I got my first little amateur boxing fight. I had 3 amateur boxing fights, and then Golden Girl. What's her name? Sorry, I know her as Golden Girl.
Stephanie
Hadamio.
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
Steph. But she had a women's event here at Santa Ana Star Center for boxing.
Yeah.
It was for cancer, breast cancer awareness, and she wanted me on the card, and that's when I made my pro debut and got a little KO that fight, and I was hooked. Yeah.
The rush.
So then. Once you turn pro in, boxing or MMA, you automatically turn pro. So I turned pro in MMA and had my first fight in Buffalo Thunder, 2012, I think. So.
Yeah, cayenne pepper.
So you stay consistently training too, right?
I do. I started working for the schools in September, so I work at the Moriarty Middle School and High School now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a student success coach, and I'm coaching the freshman girls basketball team, so I'm not able to train as much right now, but once the season's over, I look forward to getting back in there. I know Combate Sports is already asking when I'll be available, so.
Okay, we had to take a little break, and we're back with Brenda Gonzales-Means, and you just discussed how you had your first fight, and after, how many pro fights have you had?
Between boxing and MMA, I want to say 19 pro fights.
Damn.
So.
Which is your favorite, MMA or boxing?
I always get asked this. I love them both. I can't pick one.
Really?
Boxing's just a beautiful
I love the
art. I love hands,
the art.
But then I also love elbows, knees, wrestling, so can't pick one.
Have you ever been in a fight where you got hit and you were like, shit, now what?
Yeah.
And you got to compose yourself again?
I think my first title defense when I won the 125-pound belt in King of the Cage, I was fighting out in Colorado, and it was pretty bloody. Yeah, it was a brutal fight. It was late. We were the main event. I was hungry. It was just a late night. And I was just ready to fight. Felt like I was fighting on fumes, and me and this girl were just going back and forth. She had probably 9 fights, you know, and I maybe had 3, 4 fights. So she was pretty tough. But I just remember she got me in a clinch and gave me a good knee and, you know, hit me right there. And it was like, whoa, you know, I was like, shit.
Does
like,
stuff really start spinning? Slow down when you get hit like that?
You see black and you're just like, all right, like I got to get her before it's lights out for me. So I was able to catch her at the cool spinning elbow, you know, and kind of got her. And then I think I hit her with 2.
You mean the dirty bird spinning elbow?
I'm going to say Arlene Sanchez-Fon.
Oh.
She taught the dirty bird and
Okay.
and me that elbow. But, you know, it was pretty cool to finish her, you know.
Are you more nervous when you're fighting or when he's fighting, your husband?
When he's fighting. When him and our teammates fight, you know, your heart's just pounding. For his fight, you know, my heart's just pounding out of my chest, and then it's like, all right, calm down, like he's good.
Yeah,
and you know, I always remember he tells me, you know, don't be nervous, you know, be confident.
So seeing him get hit hurts you more than you getting hit?
Yeah, I don't like to see him get hit. You know, sometimes the kids will be playing the UFC game and he's just getting the shit beat out of him, and I'm like, I don't like seeing that.
I like playing the UFC game, and I always pick him too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and he's
I've fought under you a lot of times, man.
Yeah, and he's
I'm
like
not very good at that. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah.
But how does it feel to your husband is in a real game? Like you could play him in a video game. How is that? How is that?
It's pretty cool, you know. We've been together since '09, and we've had a lot of, you know, we struggled a lot, you know, a lot. I posted the other day. I remember the other day when we were counting our change, you know, to get $5 to put gas to get to the gym, you know, to train. You know, it was always got to get to training, and just seeing where we were and where we are now. You know, we went to our first Dallas Cowboys game the other day, and you know, that's always been my dream. That's my team, you know, and just being able to do things now, it's cool. You know, it's
But you guys,
we're blessed.
So the struggle makes it all more. You're more appreciative at the end, more grateful.
Yeah, for sure.
And everything you guys do in the community, man, I'm like blown away by how sweet you guys are with people, how good you guys are to people. Like I was telling earlier about how I know your family and I got a lot of love for them. Is there anything that you want to tell people out there? Anything about yourself that people might have misconceptions about fighters? Because like I just kept asking Tim, like, did you like to get hit? Like, damn. And if somebody wants to do it, what are the pros and cons to it?
You know, it's a risk every time you step in there. You know, you see, you know, if the boxing community has lost, you know, some fighters. You know, it's not a game. You know, we always tell the kids, you know, if they want to be they say they want to be a fighter, but you're always like, have a backup plan. You know, get your education.
Exactly.
You know,
you
gotta have a backup plan. But I mean, but if it's something you want to do, then pursue it, you know, like you live once, you know, so be happy with what you're doing in life.
Do you have any upcoming fights?
Not at the moment. I'm coaching basketball right now, so the season ends end of February. So after that, I want to get back to training, and I'm sure I'll be getting some calls, so just need to get back in shape.
You guys stay in shape. I see you guys working out all the time.
He does. I've worked out twice in the last month, so.
Oh damn! You sometimes like it's hard for me to when I had to get in better shape because, you know, I was chasing my son and daughter all around the state all the time, man, and eating unhealthy, just not taking care of myself. And once I started to hit in the gym, I was sick for like a month. I was like, damn, this shit sucks. I had to stop drinking Cokes, eating breads and flour and just bad stuff.
Yeah.
And when I got into a more comfortable rhythm and you start losing weight, you start feeling more confident and okay, now I can do it. So I don't like to take days off, and they say, you know, you start reading about stuff and say you gotta take 10,000 steps a day or something to be active, like considered active. So I'm always trying to hit that stride, and so I can't imagine how you feel. But you probably still play with the kids, right? You're still active.
Yeah.
You're just not physically training for a fight.
Yeah, you know, like we've had breaks here and there, and I went to boxing, and I was just like, oh my God, I missed this so much, and it feels so good. I've gotten to run up and down the court a few times with the girls, but not as much as I'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think the game is, would you consider, like, when you were playing basketball, tougher than it is now? Like, the girls were tougher. Now it's just, they're scattered going everywhere. I'm like, what the hell's going on out here?
Yeah, times have changed a bit, you know, in the sports. Yeah, I think social media has kind of gotten our kids off track a bit.
I would say more than a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the first thing, as soon as I pick up my son from basketball, he's on his phone all the way home. I'm talking to him. So how's practice? Good. Just like, damn, dude, I'm right here, bro.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, anybody you want to give a shout out to, or I know you guys have been deeply affected by the loss of the Sandoval brothers. Is there anybody you want to give a message to or anything out there?
You know, just our community, you know, Moriarty, Torrance County. I do want to shout out, you know, we've had, you know, flowers and prayers, you know, from Eunice. Estancia showed up to the boys' game the other night, which was really cool to show their respects. Pertalis, we were scheduled to play them. The boys and girls were scheduled to play them Friday and Saturday, and they all came down and we all played. We had 6 games going yesterday, so so that was real cool. So, you know, just everybody who's been supportive and sending prayers and flowers and, you know, monetary, you know, gifts to the Sandovals, and, you know, Lexi and Ernie, like you say, you know, they have, like, you can send them your condolences, and, you know, Lexi just, you know, gave you her words of encouragement and stuff, and she's just been, you know, very inspiring to me, and her strength and her faith, you know, is just, you know, up my faith, and just, you know, just sending them love, and, you know, just
everybody stay strong. Definitely stay strong and stay connected in a positive way. Anything you want to tell Tim? Any shout out you want to tell Timmy?
Tell Timmy? Better behave. Gotta do them dishes when we get home. You know, hopefully he gets matched for February 15th, you know, because we have a lot of family and friends looking forward to that. So here, New Mexico, so hopefully we can represent.
No, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for always being supportive of us.
Oh no, man, you guys, I respect the hell out of you guys, man. So I always got your guys' back, and like I told him, I'm in the background, and sometimes I'll shoot you guys text messages or something and stuff. But I'm always cheering for you guys, man. I always want you guys to win in anything that you're doing. And if there's anything that me or anybody that I know can do for you guys to help you guys in any way, just let me know.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Look forward to fighting in Rio Rancho. So let's just hope for that card, and then let's get through Wednesday, burying the boys, Pete and Pedro, and just all the coaches that had so much time invested with those boys and just their losses. You know, I hope prayers and everything helped them out, and time will heal this. But you want to get choked up now talking about it, but shout out to my team, my family, my people, my town. Thank you for having us.
No, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for always having my back also.
Thank you.
Today, Duke City Skyline. Make sure you get some of their products. They're good people out there, man. And this concludes our second episode of GNM from Politica Records. And just say one love, people. God bless you. Respect. Peace.